Did you know that Mexicans were once considered legally white and that we were not protected against discrimination under the law? But that changed with the landmark Supreme Court ruling Texas versus Hernandez in 1954. 3 years earlier, in 1951, Pete Hernandez, a young Mexican-American cotton picker, was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison by an all-white jury. This was common in Jackson County, Texas, where not a single person with a Spanish last name had served on a jury in more than 25 years. Hernandez's lawyers, Gus Garcia, Carlos Cadena, John J. Herrera, and James de Anda, argued that his constitutional rights had been violated since Mexicans had been systemically excluded from serving on the jury. The state of Texas said that because Mexicans were white, Pete had been tried by a jury of his peers, and there was no discrimination. Imagine this, you are Mexican and cannot use the same bathroom as white people, yet the law says you are white. In 1951, Pete Hernandez was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison by an all-white jury. The state of Texas argued that it had been a fair trial because, well, he was white. Never mind that the Jackson County courthouse where the case was tried had 2 bathrooms, one with signage that read, "Colored men and hombres aquí." How the state had the audacity to argue we were white when we couldn't even use the same bathroom as white people is straight up crazy. Gus Garcia and team brought the case to the Supreme Court. The justices asked questions like, what is a Mexican American? Can they speak English? Are they citizens? Justice Frank Furford even said, they call them greasers down there, don't they? Gus Garcia provided a very lively response, including telling the court, my people were in Texas 100 years before Sam Houston, that went back from Tennessee. Before 1954, Mexicans were considered legally white, and therefore we were not protected under the 14th Amendment, which guarantees equal treatment under the law. Texas versus Hernandez was the ruling that changed this. During oral arguments at the Supreme Court, Mexican-American lawyer Gus Garcia and team provided examples of how Mexicans were segregated in schools, restaurants, and even in bathrooms in the very county courthouse where Pete Hernandez's criminal case was tried. On May 3rd, 1954, the United States Supreme Court ruled that Mexican Americans were entitled to equal protection under the law. It was a huge win for the Latino community, and from that point on, other marginalized communities could also seek equality under the law. While Mexicans and Latinos more broadly continue to this day to struggle for equality, this ruling made it possible for the first time in U.S. history to stand on legal ground while fighting for the rights we deserve as Americans.